Sunday meditation. We breathe, fully allowing chest and abdomen to rise and fall, to ebb and flow. Its own accord without the need to control it. Simply letting it be and being aware. Just as this breath comes and goes, various things in life come and go. Various things in life rise and fall. They come into our awareness and they go out of our awareness. They come into our experience, they go out of our experience. Various relationships come and go. Birthdays come and go. Anniversaries come and go. The inhale comes, the exhale goes. This ebb and flow shows up in the busyness of life as well. And so we pause and notice. We pause and be present. And in the ability to pause, even though the busyness continues, it appears to have slowed down because our awareness is no longer frantically clinging to the experience. But we pause, we notice, we breathe. Ability to pause, to notice, and breathe, always with us, no matter where we are or what we are doing. Ability to be present, be aware, to be awake, is ever present. We are, or what we are doing, we need not be attached to the busyness. Just as Wu Wei teaches us, this and only this, this and nothing more. That is what is mine to do. Pause, to be present, to be aware. Oftentimes, just like scrolling through our phone, we scroll through the busyness of life. But we are invited to be present, still, be here, now. Right where we are, the divine is. Right where we are, life is living itself. As is often said, into every life some rain must fall. And we have the opportunity to be like water, to flow. we allow the energy of the universe to flow through us, to give us the capacity to evolve, ever becoming more and more of what we are. So we breathe. Breathe into the silence. We breathe into the stillness. Breathe. I am. I am that which I am ever becoming more and more aware of. It's our awareness of our divinity that gives us the capacity to live embodied as that divinity. Our divinity does not lessen, it does not grow. Our divinity simply is. But our awareness shifts and changes based upon where and how we are standing. If standing in a valley, then our view is one thing. If standing on the top of a hill, our view becomes different. Our awareness expands. And so we breathe and let our awareness expand. We see all of the various ways that the divine shows itself through all of nature, through all of life. That which God is ever moving, ever shifting, ever changing, ever expressing. And what it is, we must be. Nature is simple. It simply does what it does. A rock does not struggle. A river does not strain. Complicated. Love is not complicated. But it is because of how we have been conditioned that we believe that it is. So in this moment we breathe and return to the simplicity of love. Return to the simplicity of life. return to the simplicity of God. Reach for the divine, but what it is, we are. There is nowhere outside of us that we need to find it, grasp it. We are already it, infinitely connected in all ways, right where we are. Life, love, joy, God, present, right now. Awareness gives us the ability to shine that divine light of our being, the truth of our being. Awareness gives us the ability to navigate through all of the circumstances of life. It gives us the ability to live audaciously, boldly, in full. And just as the clouds move and shift and change, so too does life. We do not cling to the clouds. We need not cling to life. Breathe, and we live. We breathe, and we are aware that just as we cannot see the wind, but we see how the wind affects the world around us. We do not see that which God is directly, but we see how the energy that God is affects all of life. Awareness, we do realize that we are, in fact, seeing God. We see God in the rock, the tree, the breeze, the fish. We see God reflected back to us, as us, in the mirror. We see God reflected in and as our neighbor, our family. All of creation is God expressing self, God being self. See all of the vast expressions of the divine, moving and being and breathing and living itself, always and in all ways. And so we breathe, and we allow our awareness of this divinity that is the truth of our own being to be the thing that empowers us to walk the walk. To not simply have the faith in God, but have the faith of God. to know that there is no little light of mine, but the light that shines, the light of truth of our being, is big and grand and beautiful, powerful, and is present right now. Present in every conversation, every interaction, present in everything we do and everywhere we go. There is nowhere where God is not. We have the ability to transform our lives. But we must be present. Present to the joy, present to the bliss, present to the love. Not just that we feel, but that which we are. In being present to it all, we realize we now have the capacity to fully live life. Fully living life is why we are here. To fully live this divine expression. God living as each one of us right now. Breathe. And as the Sunday meditation comes to a close, meditative awareness continues through all of our activities throughout the day. Breathe. Namaste. So it is.
Hello and welcome to the Center for Spiritually Integrated Arts, a Centers for Spiritual Living teaching center. I am Reverend Dr. Raymont Anderson. I am the founder and the spiritual director. Now, as you are sitting there joining us, you may have questions, any number of questions, such as, who am I? How did I get here? Spiritually integrated arts means what exactly? What is a teaching center? Well, what is Centers for Spiritual Living? What is that? What does that even mean? Or New Thought, or religious science, or science of mind and spirit? You may have any number of questions about this specific community, about the parent organization, CSL, our philosophy, our teaching, our liberation theology. Any number of questions. Feel free to send an email. We look forward to connecting more and building our virtual community, our global community. And if you haven't connected yet on social media, feel free to do so. This is your invitation now. Also, did you know that all of our Sunday messages are archived on our YouTube channel? You can watch it anytime. Now, questions about anything, such as becoming a member. What does that mean? What does membership entail? And if you live somewhere far and already belong to a spiritual community, can you be a member of more than one? The simple answer is yes, you can. Just like you can shop at more than one grocery store, you can attend or be a member of more than one gym. We are building beloved community. So you can do both. You can be a member of both. You can be involved with both. That's what being in spiritual community means. So we welcome you. We invite you. We are so appreciative that you have found this community and that you have joined us today. We bless you. We love you. We welcome you. Live long and prosper. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the rest of our Sunday message. Love you. Connect with you soon. Blessings.
Namaste and greetings. We are in the midst of summer. It's already July. July. Wow. Okay. So, that being the case, this month we are talking about a subject that is very near and dear to the hearts of many, if not ourselves, those we know. One of them being Tracy. The theme this month, practice makes imperfect. What? Yes, because normally we say practice makes perfect. We're going to talk about this whole idea of perfection, imperfection, etc. Today specifically, what if perfection isn't the goal? But the theme, once again, as we continue our journey this year of a grand rising, specifically this month, we are bringing our focus to our belief and our perception about perfection. And actually, we are bringing our attention not necessarily to perfection, but imperfection and the connection between the two. And we all know the phrase, as I said before, practice makes perfect, but here's the key thing. Practice doesn't make perfect. You're already perfect. But when the goal of practice is perfection versus skill building, greater stewardship, etc., what we are doing is cutting ourselves off from the very essence of that which life is. So if the goal for practice, whatever we're practicing, martial arts, meditation, whatever it is that we're practicing, if the goal isn't to be perfect at it, then what's the goal? To enjoy it, to deepen our understanding and our bliss and our expression, to expand into that in whatever way that we do so. Because in whatever way we do so, in and of itself, to a certain degree, in and of itself, is already perfect. So, within the scope of that thing we call imperfection, the non perfect, in there, right there, is the key seed to greater possibility, greater awareness, greater expansiveness in our ability to live this thing called life. So, this week we are exploring an idea, a liberating idea that there is non-life affirming perfectionism that actually hinders our spiritual growth, our personal growth, our financial growth, our social growth, etc. It hinders us. Now, you may not think about it that way, but if we are clinging to a false idea, non-life affirming perfectionism is a false idea, then clinging to that false idea is going to prevent us from living life fully. Think about the young child who is living based upon the false idea that under their bed is the boogeyman, and this child, too afraid to get out of bed, doesn't go get a drink of water even though they're thirsty, doesn't go to the bathroom even though they need to urinate, so they do it in the bed. Holding on to this false idea prevents us from living as powerfully as we can in the vast areas of our lives. So we're going to delve and dive into this idea of perfection and how it often paralyzes us, how it prevents us from taking greater life affirming action, prevents us from experiencing the richness and vastness of this thing that is our life. And by examining the ways in which it holds us back and prevents us from taking action, we are able to discover a new perspective, a more life affirming perspective that encompasses even those things we try to avoid that we call our imperfections, because they are an essential part of this thing called life. So let's go ahead and dive into and explore the transformative power that comes with letting go of non-life affirming perfectionism and embracing a more compassionate, a more aware, and a more authentic way of approaching and navigating our life. Perfectionism is often this heaviness of needing to do it right, to get it right, to not be perceived as wrong, or because what we tend to do is if I make a mistake, they're going to perceive that I am incompetent, that I don't care, that I, whatever. There's a judgment in there. So perfectionism, non-life affirming perfectionism, weighs us down. And yet, the paradox is we're striving to be something which we already are. You're already perfect, divinely perfect, already. And so, even in the 2 plus 2 equals 5, it's not the correct answer. Even in that, the manner in which you are moving through it is still an expression of the divine and perfect idea that is expressing as you, even in the midst of, I burnt the corn again. It doesn't change the fact that you are still perfect. That which you are, the divine being that you are, is still perfect, even when we burn the corn or whatever it is that we burnt that day while making dinner. So breathe, because our invitation is to get to a space where we no longer judge ourselves and we simply surrender or release into, I am perfect and I make mistakes. I, that which is the infinite I am, that which God is as the incarnating power and presence that is me. In this lived expression, there are going to be times when I don't balance a checkbook. I misplaced the car keys. I put my coffee on the top of the car, forgot about it, and started driving away until I looked in the rearview mirror and saw this liquid running. That's my coffee. Oh man, I just bought that mug. Even in the midst of these things we call mistakes, we are perfect. Dr. Holmes invites, the Spirit has already ordained that nature shall be perfect. It would be impossible for Spirit to ordain anything else, since in order to be, for Spirit to be at all, it must be perfect in its nature. In order for Spirit to be anything at all, it must be perfect in its nature. God is will and representation. A perfect cause must produce a perfect effect. The normal functions of life are harmonious, but we tend to interfere. We interfere with these harmonious and normal functions due to our ignorance, and thus we bring discord into temporary being. I hear him and I understand. And nonetheless, we're going to remix this. The normal functions of life, the normal functions of nature are harmonious and simple. But we tend to interfere and make things far more complicated than they need to be. And just as we overcomplicate nature and we overcomplicate life, we overcomplicate God. And by default, we overcomplicate our own multifaceted lives. See, that which life is perfection in expression. It is operating by a divine, normal, natural, and harmonious process. The volcano erupts. It's perfect. It's an eruption. There's lava. It burnt down a village. And we judge. Well, that's bad. Yes, and I understand. Property was lost. Lives may have even been taken as a result of the eruption. And yet, the system, the natural system that causes erupting volcanoes, in and of itself, is operating perfectly. So, when we can pause and step back and say, my life is operating perfectly, and what we tend to do is make perfectly good. My life is operating in a perfect manner, meaning there is a cause followed by an effect, followed by a cause, followed by an effect. And this thing happens systematically in this process that in and of itself is perfect. Even though the desired outcome is not what we would call good or desirable, the way it got there, the system of operations operated perfectly. Oppenheimer creating the bomb followed science to a T, followed the system and the procedures and the processes, and created this thing of destruction. The system, the science, the nature, the way plutonium and whatnot operates at an atomic level, etc., operates perfectly. What are we doing within this operation? Because he used that operation to create hurt and harm, intentional or unintentional. That's a different conversation. But what do we, in our overcomplicating things, what harm are we causing ourselves or others? So, once again, if we understood ourselves more perfectly to be perfect, would we live more effective lives? Would we manifest more readily a world that works for all? So, if I asked you to get a piece of paper and a pen or a pencil and draw a perfect circle, where did your mind just go? Where did your emotions and feelings just go? Did it immediately go to, I can't draw a perfect circle? I mean, give me a compass and maybe, because the idea of a perfect circle is the idea of it is already perfect till we overcomplicate it. A Zen circle, the broken brushstrokes or the incompleteness, quote unquote, of the circle is part of the perfection of the circle, even though it is not a closed loop, even though there is a interesting and diverse pattern to the brushstroke, it is still a perfect expression. Self-realization is effortless. What you are trying to find is what you already are. In trying to be, in trying to attain, in trying to become, in trying to seem perfect, what we're doing is deluding ourselves because we already are perfection in incarnating. And that does not mean we never make mistakes. It doesn't mean, as I said before, that I will never burn the corn again. My burning the corn doesn't negate or deny my divine perfection. So our invitation is to realize no matter our weight, we are perfect. No matter our IQ, we are perfect. No matter how much money we have in the bank, if we even have a bank account at all, we are perfect. No matter our status of do we have a home or are we the unhoused? We are perfect. And the more we can get into that space of realizing our perfection, the more we can effectively steward this thing called life in order to ensure homes for all, healthy and nutritious food for all, peace and liberation for all. Because to accept this idea that we're not perfect, to accept it's a false idea, to accept some idea of truth without experiencing it is like painting a picture of cake that you cannot eat. So we want a world that works for all, but we're not painting of cake that we cannot eat. Okay, so once again, our invitation is then how do I experience perfection? How do I experience my imperfection as perfection? How do I recognize that even in the midst of making a mistake, it is still an expression of my perfection? And in there is an invitation to, is there something in this that I can change, be more mindful of, become more self-aware, more self-actualized regarding? False ideas heaped upon false ideas make bad matters worse. It's like the idea, when people said lying is hard because you have to once you tell one lie, you have to tell two to protect and cover up the initial lie. And then you have to tell seven to cover up and hide the second two that are hiding and cover, right? So it multiplies, it gets worse. The whole confusion of the world arises from the fundamental errors of thought. Chief among these errors, and the cause to a great part of the others, is our belief in duality. And we're going to remix this because believing in duality isn't, quote unquote, necessarily the issue, right? It's when we believe that duality is absolute truth, separation is absolute truth. Is a belief that duality is that absolute truth? No. Duality is real, but not absolute reality. When we respond to duality as if it is absolute truth, it is like seeing your shadow and reacting to it as if your shadow were a separate person. The shadow is an effect that happens when there is light being cast, right? And there are two separate things happening. There is the person. Well, there's actually more than that, because there's the person, there's the light, there's the shadow, there's the thing the shadow is being cast upon. Is it being cast upon the background? Is it being cast on the ground? Where is the shadow? And so if I respond, if you see me talking to my shadow as though hey, why are you following me? I'm going to call police. I'm being stalked. Someone is following me everywhere I go, and I don't know who they are. Every time I catch them and see them and question, they're silent. And they're always there mocking me. If I raise my hand, they raise their hand. Ooh. But there are many false ideas, error thinking that we respond to as though it were absolute truth. Racism is a real experience. The caste system creates real effects, and yet they are not absolute reality, and therefore they can be changed. War can be eradicated if we approach it in a way that is healing and liberating, which means we have to surrender a lot of the false and erroneous thought forms and belief paradigms. What lies in your growing up, what lies were you told? I understand you may not think of being taught Santa Claus comes down the chimney, leaves you gifts on Christmas. You may not have thought about that as a lie because it's a fictional story, not meant to cause any harm, but it's not true. It's not, Santa Claus doesn't come down in the story, but in this lived experience, Santa Claus does not come down the chimney and leave you presents. Santa Claus does not judge you if you're naughty or nice. What lies did we believe growing up? What lies did we believe about family, about friends, about what community is, about what God is? What lies did we believe? What lies do we still believe? What lies do we tell others? I told Tracy I didn't eat any spree today. Then why is your tongue red? You caught me. I only ate two cupcakes. There were 8 sitting on the dining room table. If you only ate 2, why are there only 4 left? What lies do we tell others? Why do we tell others lies? Is lying necessary? Is a small white lie necessary? Just asking questions. And then what lies do we tell ourselves? Do we lie to ourselves about our age? Do we lie to ourselves about what being a certain weight means? What gray hairs mean? What lies do we tell ourselves? And in this whole concept, if we think about the origination, the beginning of the story of lies, we have to think about the Judeo-Christian story of how Eve was lied to, per se, by the serpent, and then Eve's deception to Adam led to the fall, what we call the fall of man, original sin. How is that story part of the lies we were told, part of the lies we believe, part of the lies we still believe, part of the lies we tell others, and part of the lies we tell ourselves? How are these erroneous thought forms, beliefs, and paradigms still impacting us? Just the idea of error thinking, false ideas, those are what create all kinds of heinous and what we call evil activities and behaviors. Errors of thought and false ideas. You may remember these folks, these particular things from, I think it was back in June. But look at them now through the lens of errors of thought and false ideas. Because the question then, how did false ideas and error thinking impact these people's lives? And how did false ideas and error thinking that they had impact the lives of others. And because we have to go here, how are false ideas and error thinking impacting your life today? Whether they are your false ideas and error thinking or the false ideas and error thinking of someone else. The false ideas and error thinking a parent has, are they impacting your life? There are many gay children, LGBTQ children, that their family's ideas, false ideas, and error thinking impact their lives. You get the point. So, how do false ideas and error thinking, whether your own or someone else's, how do they impact your life? And breathe. The only reason, you already know we're going to remix this because the only reason we are limited is that we have not allowed the divine within us to more completely express. Our divine individuality compels infinity to appear in our experience as duality because we have believed in duality. I understand where Dr. Holmes is going, and yet, as I said, we're going to remix this because there are many people who still science of mind and spirit 1.0 this, which is feeding into the idea of error thinking and false ideas because we vilify duality rather than understanding it and then operating more effectively within it. So there are many reasons we are limited or feel limited. And so we are invited to discern the difference between externally exerted limitations from those that are internal. Jim Crow is an externally exerted limitation that was imposed upon African Americans, as was slavery. That's external. If someone acknowledges the reason that master teaches me and whips me is because I's bad, I tried to escape, then it becomes an internal limitation. Whether it is true or not true, the legend of Harriet Tubman, she at one point said, I freed X amount of people from slavery. I could have freed more if only they realized that they were being held captive. The difference between external and internal. When we more actively and consciously connect to the divinity expressing as us, the more it appears in our experiences, and that awareness and that activity helps us to dissolve, to deconstruct, to eradicate any of those external limitations. We remove segregation as a practice because you can't legislate humanity and you can't legislate equity and justice in someone's heart. You can do it with the laws and policies, but that's not going to change someone's heart. So our invitation again is the more we actively and consciously connect to the truth of our being, know the truth, and the truth will set you free. Know the truth and then act accordingly. We change the legislation, we change the policies, we change the external systems, and then also part of is also it avails the opportunity to now change people's hearts because it changes how we interact. We are far more capable of transcending, transmuting, and transforming conditions as demonstrated by our liberation consciousness. When we are free and we live in that manner, it changes the external way, the external life, the external events and experiences. But we have to know it internally first. Frederick Douglass, you've heard me say it. I prayed for freedom for 25 years and I didn't get it until I prayed with my feet. I prayed, wishing and hoping, but until I acted on that, the action is what brought it into being. So, how are you acting? What are you practicing? In the more updated version, the remake, retelling of the Karate Kid, which actually should have been the Kung Fu Kid, starring Jackie Chan and Jaden Smith, Mr. Han, Jackie Chan's character, tells Jaden's character, Xiaodrui, Kung Fu lives in everything we do. It lives in how we put on the jacket and how we take the jacket off. It lives in how we treat other people and how we treat ourselves. Everything is Kung Fu. Couldn't we swap out the words spirit lives in everything we do? Spirit is in how we put the jacket on, because spirit is the jacket and the one putting it on. It lives in how we take the jacket off. It lives in how we treat others. It lives in how we treat ourselves. Everything is spirit. So once again, what are you practicing? The real meditation or the real prayer is how you live your life. Mr. Miyagi taught Daniel, wax on, wax off isn't simply waxing a car. It's karate. Putting a jacket on or taking it off isn't simply putting it on, taking it off. It's Kung Fu. How are you living science of mind and spirit? How are you practicing it daily? Steve Maraboli says, stop trying to fix yourself. You are not broken. You are perfectly imperfect, and you are powerful beyond measure. Stop trying to fix yourself. You can heal. You can better steward mental health, emotional health, but you're not broken. The Banff Wellness Retreat Center says, heal so you don't have to give a sarcastic tone to an uplifting message. Heal so you never have to make anyone else the object of your own frustration. Heal so when someone tells you that they love you, you allow yourself to believe them. Heal, transform, evolve. Don't fix. Dr. Holmes says, I believe everything is as real as it is supposed to be. If a person hurts, they hurt. If they feel badly, then they cry. There is want, lack, and apparent limitation in the human experience, and there is no use denying that. But perhaps it doesn't need to be. Perhaps it is not as it is intended to be. Once again, how are we practicing science of mind and spirit in a way that it is transforming and creating a world that truly works for all? It means we have to look at the error thinking, the false ideas, and transform to ideas that are more aligned with truth, aligned with the absolute, aligned with that which is life affirming. Because when we are here, we let the concept of perfect, just the idea, just the word, it becomes the enemy to our own good. And as Gretchen Rubin says, don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good. So don't let the false idea of perfect, don't let the false idea of perfection be the enemy of your good. You are whole, perfect, and complete, even while you are making whatever mistakes you are making. Be what you are and do what you do without the judgment, the criticism, the guilt, or the shame. Be and do from the truth. So you made a mistake and yelled at the kids? Acknowledge it. Apologize if you need to. Change the way you respond, as the Banff Retreat Center said. Heal, evolve, so that you do not make someone else the object of your frustration. Why do parents yell at their children? Because they're filled with whatever the frustration. I'm so frustrated because you don't listen to me. I told you to be home by 8 p.m. and for 3 days straight, you came home at midnight. I'm frustrated. I don't feel listened to. I don't feel respected. Frustrate. So we lash, we erupt like the volcano. And yet, once again, there is a perfect system in place. This belief and this belief and this emotion and feeling and this emotion and feeling become this course of action. The system is perfect in how it operates. But if we want a different outcome, then we have to have a different income. Wink, wink. If we want a different experience, then we have to reverse engineer the idea and stop letting these collective consciousness ideas of perfect or duality or whatever hinder us. What do you see on the screen? And how are they similar? Now, it's 3 different edible things. You go there. 3 different edible things. Okay. 3 different baked goods. Okay. 3 different snacks. 3 different desserts. There are various ways we could look at this and quantify and label them. And it doesn't have to be an either or. It's a both and. So you can be perfect. You can be a baked good and a cookie. You can be a dessert and chocolate cake. Both and. Well, no, you have to be either a baked good or sweet potato pie. You can't be both. But I am both. I am absolutely perfect, whole and complete. And I am someone who occasionally has burnt the corn. Since the theme, burnt the corn. Completely perfect, whole and absolute, and feel frustration and fear at times. You can be both and, perfect and imperfect, simultaneously. Both and. Richard Rohr invites us, if you have forgiven yourself for being imperfect and falling, you can now do it for just about anybody and everybody else. Yet, if you have not done it for yourself, he says, I am afraid you will likely pass on your sadness, your absurdity, your judgment, your shame, and your futility onto others. Where are you invited to forgive yourself and be a forgiving presence? Where are you invited to heal yourself and be a healing presence? the practice. When we truly study, practice, and embody the science of mind and spirit as a way of life, we recognize the paradox of being absolutely perfect while also being relatively or subjectively imperfect. We live in a way where we balance the both and doing so gives us greater wisdom and greater power to liberate what needs to be liberated, to eradicate whatever needs to be eradicated, and to demonstrate whatever needs to be demonstrated in order to more effectively manifest a world that works for all. Remix of Matthew 5:38. So be perfect, just as the universe is perfect. Be it. This week's affirmation or declaration, I will say it first, and if it resonates with you, say it with me the second time around. I embrace the beauty of perfection, expressing in my divine imperfection. Together. I embrace the beauty of perfection, expressing in my divine imperfections. Great. So did. This week's study questions and the discussion groups or the study groups questions, which I invite you to attend the study group because they go over the questions and discuss them more in depth. Number one, name a specific instance in your life where perfectionism has kept you from doing something that you wanted to do. Remember that first image of the boulder on the back? Where has perfectionism kept you from living fully? What was the result of you not doing whatever that thing was? How might your life be different if you had done whatever that thing was? What is stopping you from doing it now, assuming that you haven't or that you're not currently doing it? Number five, how do you acclimate your life to the realization that you are already perfect, whole, and complete, even when the less than perfect things are experienced? Right? So I don't want to experience COVID, but I am. So how do I acclimate my life, realizing I am whole, I am perfect, I am complete, even while my body is experiencing COVID, even while I have to have surgery for, even while my bank account isn't reflecting, even while I had 5 sons and apparently now I have 2 again. Even while, how do you acclimate your life? And lastly, what is a false idea you are currently working on erasing or transmuting or transforming? What is a false idea or error thinking? Put both of them in there. What kind of error thinking are you currently working on erasing? And breathe as we enter into that atmosphere, the activity of prayer, knowing the isness and allness that God is absolute perfection, living, moving, and having its beingness in, through, and as all of us, in, through, and as all that is. And that this absolute perfection, living, moving, and having its beingness, incarnating itself in, through, and as everything, is the infinite goodness of the universe, pressing outward, pressing inward, pressing upward, pressing downward, pressing itself into and as all of creation. This infinite goodness, this infinite perfection, this infinite completeness and wholeness, the all that is. And it is precisely in this space of awareness, knowing this absolute perfection, goodness, and power, that anyone is then able to stand in the conscious awareness of, now that I know this, it affects how I live because it affects how I show up. It affects all that is my mental equivalent. It affects all areas of my life. So I don't just simply theorize about science of mind and spirit 4.0. I live, move, and have my beingness as it. My thoughts, how I communicate, my emotions, my feelings, my actions are all in alignment with the truth. Love is who and what I am, not just what I do, but it's what I am being. And that what I am being yields and gives rise to the what I am doing. If I am being an artist, then I do create art. If I am being a teacher, then I teach, I educate. If I am being, then I am doing, both and. But the being comes first. Be ye therefore perfect, just as the universe that is expressing itself as you is perfect. Be it. So I breathe, knowing that this perfection that the universe is, this truth of my being, is the truth for everyone gathered here today, watching now live or watching the recording later. This truth, this infinite and absolute truth, is the whole truth and only that which is the truth of our being. We are whole, we are perfect, we are complete, just as we are right now. And it is good. The law says yes, and that yes causes the law to respond and to act accordingly and perfectly. And knowing that that is what it does, I know that this entire message, this entire affirmation and declaration, this entire ending, closing prayer is already demonstrating and manifesting in my own life and in the life of others, because there is only one mind, and that mind is God. And all that was said and all that is felt is already existing, fully formed and fully functioning, effectively, powerfully, in the one mind. This life is answered prayer. This life is our amen. And so it is. And so it is. So as you saw at the beginning, when we're doing our after Sunday message gathering fellowship over in Zoom. So see you in Zoom. Much love and appreciation. Go out and be your divine and right perfect expression of all that you are, as the divine, as source, as love. Live long and prosper.